A few weeks ago, I told you that I had been assigned to the Armed Services Committee and that I would keep you posted. We're still very early, but I want to report back to you on what I've seen so far. And what I've seen so far is a strong focus on China, even before the balloon, specifically the situation with Taiwan. So here's the deal. Taiwan is a series of islands roughly 100 miles off the coast of China. About 70 years ago, there was a communist revolution in China. It toppled the government, which fled to Taiwan along with hundreds of thousands of civilian refugees, and they set up their own government there. Been that way ever since. We don't recognize Taiwan as a country. Very few countries do, but we still sell them a bunch of weapons to keep China from invading. Why do we do this? Partly because Taiwan is a democracy and China is not, so we've been political and cultural allies with Taiwan for a long time. But also because if China took over, it could threaten the stability of the whole region with major implications for security and trade. Needless to say, our position on this really angers China. They raise the issue constantly with American presidents, as they did last year when they told us not to play with fire regarding Taiwan. Which brings us to our first armed services hearing of the year. We heard that Taiwan knows that it can't keep up with China's military investment. China has about 2 million active soldiers. Taiwan has 170,000. China spends roughly 10 times what Taiwan does on its military, which is why the military talk is centered on the porcupine strategy. The idea is to help turn Taiwan into a very prickly target to make sure it is prepared to take a large toll on any country that may invade, hopefully so as to deter an invasion. That's why our recent weapons deals with Taiwan have been about mobility and precision. Stinger missiles, MQ-9 drones, Harpoon coastal defense missiles, high mobility artillery rocket systems. But we have not adopted a policy that says we will step in to defend Taiwan if China attacks. Our official policy is called strategic ambiguity, which technically means maybe we will, maybe we won't. That's our policy right now, and it has been since before I was born. At one of our hearings, a retired admiral was pushing us to adopt a new policy of telling China that we will step in if they invade. The upside of adopting a policy like that is that it could make invasion less likely by raising the stakes for China. The downside is that we would then have a greater risk of going to war with China. So it's a controversial proposal. What's clear is that as China has dialed up the heat on Taiwan, we have dialed up our commitment to their defense, including with high-profile shows of support. That's why the last speaker went. That's why the new speaker has said he's going. To understand other decisions we're going to make about China and Ukraine and other allies like the Philippines and Australia, you've got to understand this Taiwan piece. It's a very dense issue, and it's going to affect the orbit of everything around it for at least the rest of the decade. All for now. Take care.